His Excellency, the Federal Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany, His Excellency Mr. Olaf Scholz, Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, Honorable Ministers and members of both delegations, friends from the media, good afternoon and welcome to the press statements following the meetings that were just taking place between the leaders of India and Germany. May I now request Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi to make his remarks to the media. Sir.
Your Excellency.
Your Excellency, delegates of both countries, friends from the media, Guten Tag. Namaskar. I welcome my friend Chancellor Scholz and his delegation to India.
Chancellor Scholz कई वर्षों बाद भारत का दौरा कर रहे हैं। 2012 में
his visit to India in 2012 was the first ever visit to India by a mayor of Hamburg. It is evident that
भारत-जर्मनी संबंधों की संभावनाओं को बहुत पहले ही समझ लिया था। पिछले वर्ष हमारी 3 बैठकें हुई और हर बार हमारी चर्चाओं में
it was his foresight and vision that gave a new impetus and energy to our bilateral relations. In today's meeting as well, we have had important bilateral issues as well as on regional and international subjects. Friends, the strong relations between India and Germany are based on our shared democratic values and a deep understanding of each other's interests. Both countries also have a long history of cultural and economic exchanges between them. Increasing cooperation between two large democracies of the world is not only beneficial for the people of both countries, but this also sends out a positive message in today's world fraught with tension. Apart from being our biggest trading partner in Europe, important source of investment in India. Today, thanks to the Make in India and Self-Reliant India campaigns, new opportunities are opening up in India in all sectors. We are encouraged to see Germany's interest in these opportunities. The business delegation accompanying Chancellor Scholz had a successful meeting today with Indian business leaders, and some important agreements were also concluded. We also got to hear useful ideas and suggestions on subjects such as digital transformation, fintech, IT, telecom, and supply chain diversification from key industry leaders in both countries. Friends, under triangular development cooperation, India and Germany are increasing their cooperation with each other for the development of third countries. In the last few years, people-to-people relations between us have also been strengthened. The Migration and Mobility Partnership Agreement signed last year in December has further strengthened these relations. As per the needs of the changing times, we are also adding new and modern dimensions to our relations. Last year, during my visit to Germany, we had announced a green and sustainable development partnership Through this,
climate action
we are increasing cooperation in the areas of climate action and sustainable development goals. We have decided to work together in areas such as renewable energy, green hydrogen, and biofuels. Friends, security and defense cooperation can become an important pillar of our strategic partnership. We will continue to work together in order to fully realize our untapped potential in this area. There has been active cooperation between India and Germany in the fight against terrorism and separatism. Both countries also agree on the fact that concrete action is needed to end cross-border terrorism. Friends, the COVID pandemic and the Ukrainian war have had an impact on the entire world. Developing countries have in particular been negatively impacted. We have expressed our shared concern on this. We agree on the fact that these problems can only be resolved through collective efforts. We are G20 presidency as well. From the time developments in Ukraine started, India has emphasized that the dispute should be resolved through dialogue and diplomacy. India is ready to contribute in any peace process. We also reiterated our agreement that reforms are essential in multilateral institutions so that they better reflect global realities. This is clear from our active partnership in the G4 to bring about reforms of the UN Security Council. Excellency, on behalf of all my countrymen, I once again welcome you and your delegation to India. I will have the opportunity to welcome you once again at the G20 summit that will be organized in India in September. I thank you very much for visiting India and for the fruitful discussions that we have had today. Thank you very much.
Now I call upon the Federal Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany, His Excellency Mr. Olaf Scholz, to make his remarks.
Sehr geehrter Herr Premierminister, lieber Narendra Modi,
Prime Minister Narendra Modi, thank you very much for the cordial welcome here in New Delhi. I am pleased to be here today on a state visit to India. The point has been made by you that this is not my first visit to India. At the time I came, I was the mayor of the city of Hamburg. And with hindsight, I'm in a position to say that a lot has changed. India has undertaken an enormous rise. Much has happened, and that is also good for the relations between both our countries and peoples, and for all the goals and objectives we've set ourselves. Indeed, we are convinced, as the Prime Minister said, that both our countries are closely linked because we have similar ideas and and it's important for the future of our lives. Thus, it is important for us to use these opportunities to address the challenges ahead of us and to make sure that in a whole host of areas, economic, cultural and others, we further deepen and expand our relationship. And that is exactly the purpose of my visit to India. We have been cooperating. We have been discussing matters. This has made it possible for us to take important decisions last year when it was necessary. For example, when it was about the G20 taking decisions together. And I'm pleased that India has the presidency of the G20 this year. A very responsible task at a difficult point in time that has to be underlined. But I'm confident that India will fully comply with what needs to be done in that regard. A very important question is securing the supply with food and energy. We have to make sure that countries in Asia, Africa and America are not too strongly and negatively impacted by the terrible war of aggression that Russia started against Ukraine, and that the impact is not too negative for them. Supply shortages is thus a one priority of our work. Indeed, the war in Ukraine began a year ago. It has led to immense losses, destruction, destroyed infrastructure, railway links, energy connections, grids. It is a major catastrophe, but above all, it is a disaster, a catastrophe, because we know that this war violates a fundamental principle to which we had all been agreed for such a long time, and that is that you do not change borders through the use of violence, but that international law governs international relations and ought to provide the basis for international actions. Thus, it is important that in the United Nations, too, we time and again state very clearly where we stand on this subject matter. The world is suffering as a consequence of Russia's aggression. I've been describing in what way it does. Thus, the cooperation between both our countries is of great importance. There are a whole host of areas in which we can further deepen and enhance our cooperation. First and foremost, the economic cooperation between both our countries. 1,800 German companies are active in India. They have created tens of thousands of jobs and are amongst the biggest foreign investors in your country. And our intention is to put this on a steady footing and expand that cooperation. The number of personnel employed here is to go massively up, and the agreements that the members of the business delegations have reached with each other point the way in that direction. The next Asia Pacific Conference of German Industry and Business will take place in India, by the way. Second, we want to further deepen trade relations between the European Union and India, and this is why both of us speak out strongly for the negotiations about a free trade agreement and investment protection agreement to be speedily concluded. I personally will make sure that this does not drag on. A third important point, research and development. These are important areas. We need talents, we need skilled workers, we need to join up our forces in that regard and make progress together. It is especially important for one area that, in my eyes, is of the greatest importance, and that is the development of IT and software. There are many very capable companies here in India. We have German companies in India. We have thousands of people employed in these companies. India has so much talent to offer, and we want to benefit from that cooperation here in India, but also with an eye to recruiting and attracting those talents to Germany and employing them there in our industry sectors. The central topic for the future of mankind is, of course, fighting climate change. We've talked about this, and I am very grateful for the very friendly cooperation that we have had so far. It's impressive what we've agreed to in the Indo-German Partnership for Green and Sustainable Development, and how much it has evolved since we agreed. We have signed agreements and have enormous potential that can be tapped here. It's important in our eyes that we develop this further in the field of solar, biomass, using digital means, using hydrogen, green hydrogen, all of that plays a central part. And this is exactly what we want to focus on. And we also want to develop this at the global scale in the framework of the International Climate Club that we have set up. As the G7 presidency, last year we made sure that this has become a topic on the international agenda, and we want to work together to make real progress. I'm happy to say that the cooperation has been good in these areas, but I would highlight one area in particular, and that is the agreement on migration and mobility. It's still a fairly young agreement, but it has already been very active and has had many consequences. Many skilled workers, qualified personnel from India have seized the opportunity. It's in a way a model agreement, a front runner for what can be achieved at the global level. We take pride in having reached that agreement with India. And with regard to the challenges we are facing, we will be able to solve this. There is an enormous interest in developing these sectors, and with the right skilled personnel, we will be able to do so. Prime Minister, dear Narendra Modi, I'm very grateful to you for the excellent cooperation, for the friendship between both our countries, for the friendship between you and I, and for the many good talks and exchanges we've had. It is a wonderful feeling to be here today, and I very much hope that this is a good foundation on which we can build our ambitious relationship.
Thank you, Excellency. This concludes the press statements. Thank you all for joining.
S'il vous plaît. Merci beaucoup. Merci. Léo.
Léo.